All right, my friends. So, as we begin to think about maximizing what we earn by getting into as little of debt as possible, right? Video one, taking that money and combining that with a minimized living situation as far as expenses go to live, right? Video two, thinking about how we can save money at the end of the year through the study of taxes, right? Three, we move into investments. At least for right now, I highly recommend Vanguard.com. And let's just jump into this real quick. To make this very simple and easy for you, because investments, just like a lot of topics like music production, is very vast. Um, the average person that does not want to get too bogged down in becoming a day trader, stock person, and understanding like the market rules and all of that. You don't need all of that. Um, the most basic thing that I can tell you to be okay at the end of your life, retirement wise, get yourself a Roth IRA, and inside of that Roth IRA, invest in inactive index funds for the S&P 500. Now that might sound like a foreign language to you. Luckily, Vanguard makes it quite easy. I don't want to overwhelm you with information because I feel like I need to tread lightly for this video because I think that most people fear investments like it's something that's hard to do. Um, it's just like cooking. When you try it, it seems like a bigger deal than it is. It's like home improvement. When you try it, it seemed like a way bigger deal than what it really is. Like a lot of things in life, once you dive in, it's not nearly the mysterious topic that you thought it was. Um, so I'll say it again. Vanguard.com, contact them, let them know that you'd like to open up a Roth, R-O-T-H, Roth IRA with inactive index funds pointed towards the S&P 500. They'll help you, and they'll help you set it up. The reason why I recommend Vanguard over probably your local bank where your money currently sits is because I'm going to try to think about how to word this in a simple way. Everybody wants to get paid, right? So whether you run a register at a local cafe or big box store, or you make music for commercials, or you're a person who does hair and makeup, or you help people decide what to do with their money, aka a financial advisor, everybody wants a paycheck for what they do. Vanguard takes the least amount of your money to help you. So a lot of times you end up paying a financial advisor to take your money and do something with it. And usually what that do is to make your money make money. You have $5, you bring it to somebody who understands money, and you say, can you make this $5 into 5,000? I don't understand how to do it. And by the time I study what you have studied, on top of working, living, trying to buy a house, making music, maintaining my health, possibly starting a family, and everything else that you have done, I'll be old before I get there. But Just as I spent 4 to 8 years studying music so far, whatever your year is, for me it's 15. You chose not music, but financial advising. So you know more about that. Whereas if they needed a radio commercial or a guitar player or a singer or a producer or whatever, they would come to you, because by the time they tackle the topic of production, music production, or piano playing, it'll be too late. That's why you're going to them. Well, they want paid for their services. Vanguard charges the least. So, whereas somebody would say, sure, I can take your $5 and turn it into 5,000. It's going to cost you 1,000 though. Vanguard says, I can take your $5 and turn it into 5,000, but it's only going to cost you $15. Well, now $15 is a heck of a better deal than 1,000, so why not go with them? When at the end of the day, no matter who you pay, they're all accessing the same market, the same way to make your money make money, the same way to take that $5 and turn it into 5,000. So if at the end of the day, let's run with the radio commercial idea. Somebody needs a radio commercial made for them. If at the end of the day, every single producer is going to charge different amounts, but at the end, you get the same thing or pretty darn close to the same thing with very minimal variance, why wouldn't you go for the person who's going to take the least amount of your wealth that you built? You know, if at the end of your life you've got $500,000 that grew over time, and one person says, I can get that for you, but I want $100,000 of that. And another person says, I can get that for you too, but I only want $5,000 for that. Why not go for the lowest rate? So that's the easiest way that I can break this down. In a Roth IRA with inactive index funds pointed towards the S&P 500, that's the easiest way for the common person to basically set it and forget it. If you have no interest in investments, but you want to be okay at the end of your life financially, that's the easiest way that that I and many financial advisors, including people like Warren Buffett, suggest. So, you're a bartender, you like music, you open up a Roth IRA. That Roth IRA is filled with inactive index funds pointed towards the S&P 500. By the time you're old, you're at retirement age, you pull those funds out. That money sat from the age of 20 to 65 and made money on top of money on top of money on top of money. Now you're good. When you're old and your knees are bad and you want to travel and enjoy your life, you can. This goes back to what I continue to say in this course, which is you're never going to work your way to success. Even if you're a doctor that's a high earner, you got into a lot of debt to become a doctor. And even if you earn high, that alone is not going to get you there. You have to have investments. You have to have a way for your money to not just sit in a bank account and let it be worth what it is. $1,000 in your bank account is not nearly as good as $1,000 in a Roth IRA that purchased inactive index funds pointed at the S&P 500, because that 1,000 will eventually turn into 100,000, and that 100,000 eventually turns into 300,000. So we're talking about compounding interest here, basically. If you want to do some research on that, you can. If not, it's not really going to hinder you as long as you take the simple advice in this video of going to Vanguard.com which, by the way, I get no kickback from Vanguard.com. You can go to your local bank. It's just that they're going to take more money from you than Vanguard typically would. You can get a financial advisor and do active index funds. I don't recommend that because no human, especially at a common level, can really time the market well. So why would you trust a human who really doesn't know what's going to happen, and you're paying them when you can just let it ride? So that's the difference between an active index fund, right? Somebody actively managing it versus an inactive index fund, meaning nobody manages it. It's just there doing its thing. It's going to sit for 30 years and it's going to make me wealthy. So take the simple advice of going to Vanguard.com, contacting them. Be honest with them. Let them know that you really don't know what you're doing, but you want to prepare for later on down the road. God forbid if you get a bad back, if you get a disease, if you can't work, you want to have a retirement. You want to have money making money. Vanguard.com, tell them you want to open up a Roth IRA with inactive index funds pointed towards the S&P 500. They should be able to set that up for you or take you through the steps of setting that up. Now understand that every financial institution, whether it be Vanguard or PNC Bank or whatever financial institution that you know of, they're going to call their S&P 500 investment vehicle different things. So what I mean by that is when you go to Vanguard.com and you say you want to open up a Roth IRA, they're going to say, sure, no problem. What kind of funds? Inactive index funds? Sure, no problem. Where did you want us to buy? What market did you want to buy from? The Dow Jones, the S&P 500? You're going to say the S&P 500, and they're going to say the investment vehicle that is pointed towards the S&P 500 for inactive index funds in a Roth IRA is, and let's find out what that is. Vanguard S&P 500 index fund. Hopefully I can find this somewhat quickly. And you can, this isn't something that you need to know. I just don't want you to get confused when you get on the phone with Vanguard and maybe get nervous and hang up or something, because you literally can't afford to do that. I don't really think anybody can. So I just want to point this out to you so you don't get confused. It's not something that's imperative to know. It's just so you don't get confused. Let me just see what the heck they call this. 500. Usually it's like, yeah, here it is. So they'll say, oh, you want to point your inactive index funds in your Roth IRA towards the S&P 500. Well, the name for that in the Vanguard family is the VFINX. Why is that, guys? I don't know. I don't care. All I know is my money in the VFINX is an inactive index fund, or whatever the equivalent to that would be in your financial institution, and it's pointed toward the S&P 500. Why don't they just call it a Roth IRA with inactive index funds pointed towards the S&P 500? I don't know. They call it a Roth IRA with inactive index funds pointed towards the VFINX for Vanguard. It's a confusing way of saying the same thing. They'll gladly explain that over the phone to you as well if you ask them. That's what I love about Vanguard, is they're very patient. They understand that they offer the lowest rates, and as a result get a lot of people like you and I calling them saying, I'm an average person, I don't know what to do other than work, but I don't want my money just to work go into a bank account, get spent, rinse and repeat. I need to work, get money in my bank account, spend some of it on necessities, but then the other part I need to put somewhere where it makes money on top of my money. You want your money to make money while you're sleeping, okay? And this is how to do it. One last thing I wanted to throw at you guys about this, and now my mind is going blank and I can't believe it. Oh, that's what it is. When you start this journey, I want you to understand that you're going to have to feed this account. And what I mean by that is putting $1,000 into this at whatever age you're at right now and just leaving it alone is only okay. Okay? Don't get me wrong, your $1,000 will make money just for sitting there. It will. It'll make money as you sleep. But most people don't leave it at that. They really don't. So what I mean by that is when you have a Roth IRA, I think the maximum amount that you can put into that every single year is $6,000, I believe. So you don't want to just put $1,000 in, set it and forget it, and then at 65 realize that your $1,000 came out to be, I don't know, whatever, 90,000. Don't do that. Instead, every single week or month or day, whatever you can afford to do, set your goals to max out your Roth IRA every single year. That's fancy talk for legally in this country, the United States of America, you can earn $6,000 and take that $6,000 and put it into a Roth IRA. I do not believe you can do more than that. Now, you can open up a second IRA and therefore put $6,000 in each one, or have other investments like play the stock market or whatever it is that you want to do. Play the real estate market or gamble or whatever it is that you feel you want to do to make money. Which, by the way, I don't recommend gambling. I'm just trying to push your mind to the limit so you can begin to paint a picture of the room that we're in here. But you want to maximize your contribution every year. If you can't afford $6,000 every year and max it out, do something. Make it a point every week to put in $20. Or Vanguard has a great tool where you can say, based on what I earn, how do I maximize my $6,000 contribution into my index fund? And they will calculate it for you. I believe that most people, on average, can give about $150 to $200 a week, and that will get you at about $6,000 at the end of the year. So that's as much as you can do with one Roth IRA, so you know that you're basically contributing as much as you possibly can with one IRA. You can have multiple to make your money make money. So reason why I say that is if you just have 1,000 and you let that sit for 30 years, you'll make money on it. But what if you had 1,000 to start, but every single year you got serious and contributed 6,000 every single year for 30 years? Now, granted, some people, the haters, might say, well, yeah, I'm putting 6,000 in for 30 years. That kind of sucks. Like, that's 6,000 I could use for money now. That's true. But understand that that 6,000 every year is more like 8,000, 9,000, 10,000, somewhere. Your money's going to make money. It's going to have compounded interest. So 6,000 isn't actually 6,000. 6,000 is 6,000 in your bank account where it just sits there and does nothing other than waiting to be spent. But 6,000 in a Roth IRA, inactive index fund pointed towards the S&P 500, makes money on top of itself. Compounding interest is what that is. So what happens is at the end of your life, or at the time of your retirement, when you pull this money out, your $6,000 every year ended up being more like 7,000 or 8,000. They're giving you money for free, basically. Um, so do that. Don't just put money in one time and think that you'll be unbelievably wealthy. What you need to do is feed the machine. So make it a point, whatever you can afford, obviously the more the better, and the sooner the better. Um, if it's $20 a day, or if it's $20 a week, or $20 a month, do something. The most you can do is 6,000 a year. That's what I would strive for. Um, if you're only going to do one Roth IRA. You can have multiple Roth IRAs. You can do other investment things like ETFs. The world of investment is vast, but at the very least, make it a point to max out your IRA every single year at $6,000, and just be done with that. Because at the end of your life, you'll have, a $250,000 to a $500,000 to maybe even $750,000 to live on, which is great. You can go get yourself a house in the tropics and eat mangoes and coconuts for the rest of your life, and probably not rip through all of the money that you saved, and even have some left over to give to your kids so that they can be in a better financial position than you are. So I hope that that was helpful. I know that that was a long video, but like I said, if you can contribute every week or every month or every year to it, the more money you can contribute, the better. But not only that, but the more money that you can contribute as soon as possible, the better. So think about that too in closing. If you're contributing whatever 6,000 divided over a year turns out to be, let's just say it's 150 a week. So I contribute $150 a week to my Roth IRA. That's good over the course of a year, and that's great over the course of year after year. But 150 contributed in over the course of a year, what's even better than that, and most people can't do this, I can't, and that's okay, but doing something is better than doing nothing. But even better than 150 a week over the course of a year to compound in interest would be to have $6,000 every single year before the year is over. Meaning, don't spread it out over the course of a year of $150 payments every week. Instead, have $6,000 ready on the 1st of January or whatever it would be, before February. Throw that 6K in, because that giant lump sum of money, having all year to work and compound in interest, is better than 150 the first week of January. $150 the first week of January is not going to compound in interest in the way that a higher dollar amount will, like $6,000 the first week in January. And the cool thing about the $6,000, if you can do that right away, is you've maxed out your IRA for the year. So that money goes to work. That $6,000 goes to work over the course of an entire year, year after year, as opposed to 150 the first week in January, compounding in interest. 150 the second week in January, so 300, 150 and 150 over the course of the first 2 weeks in January, compounding in interest. Then another 150 the third week in January. Then another 150 the fourth week in January. What does that come out to be? $600 for the month of January. $600 in the month of January doesn't compound in interest as greatly as 6,000. Obviously, more money, more interest, better compounding. Less money, less interest, lower compounding. But even still, something is better than nothing. So don't get down on yourself because you can't immediately put $6,000 into a Roth IRA with inactive index funds pointed towards the S&P 500. Put what you can in and give as often as you can, as much as you can, and you'll see that you'll put yourself in a very nice financial situation, so that no matter what happens with music, no matter what happens in your life, at the very least, at retirement age, you'll at least be somewhat okay when you're old and over it, So I know that was a long video, guys. Go back and watch it again, and just at the very least, contact Vanguard and get yourself some help with a Roth IRA filled with inactive index funds pointed towards the S&P 500, and throughout your life give as much as you can, as quickly as you can, as often as you can to that Roth IRA. The longer that your money has time to work, the better off you'll be. Remember that. The more you can give and the longer that you allow it to work, the better off you'll be. 6,000 initially is way better than just 100 week after week. But even that 100 should be given, because doing something is always better than doing nothing. All right, guys. Onward and upward. Here we go.